Welcome back to the Root Cause Podcast today, and real lucky here to have Mr. Jess Allen here. Jess is a local guy, so come into Trenton today from Nashville, just about a 130-mile trip or so.
Something like that, about 2 hours.
Yep. So you spend your daytime working with Farm and Ranch Media and doing a lot of these kind of things, representing a lot of different kind of agricultural companies, farmers, I assume.
Yeah, so I am, a couple different things with Farm and Ranch Media. We have a few different brands that we have kind of under our umbrella. So I host the national talk show Agriculture of America, and that's heard as a podcast as well. And I know I've had you on there with me recently, which was a lot of fun. And then along with AOA, we also have another show that's more of our podcast, kind of an afternoon after the markets close, called Market Talk. And I host that as well, and that's on YouTube and all sorts of things. And then we also have the American Ag Network under our umbrella, and that's kind of the heritage network that was founded with the company 41 years ago. And that's mainly short form markets, news, weather reports for the radio, mainly covering the Dakotas, Nebraska, Iowa, Minnesota. So it's more up in the northern part of the U.S. And then we have a lot of podcasts, digital. Basically, my role is a farm broadcaster, although my official title is like vice president of national ag content or something like that. Yeah. I just say, I'm the one that manages the circus, I guess. We have a couple different broadcasters on our team, and it's ag news. I mean, that's kind of our bread and butter.
You bring up a funny point. These job titles, they're really getting fun. So I met a lady the other day. She was head of talent acquisition.
I've heard a few of those.
Kind of threw me a curveball. So I said, so you hire people?
Essentially.
Yeah. So, but in talent acquisition, such a more fancy name, it's unreal. So yeah, I get that. So you're an Iowa guy. You're from Iowa.
Originally, yep. Grew up in a small farming community, about 100 people in north central Iowa. Grew up around, corn, soybeans, cattle, hogs, just down the street from the local grain elevator. My parents ran a bar and restaurant in town for 30 years, so got to talk to farmers every day. Got to spend time out on a few neighbors, farm operations and whatnot. Really just kind of that rural Midwestern upbringing, and was there till I just after I turned 30. And on top of being a farm broadcaster, I'm a singer-songwriter, and eventually decided that, well, it's time to go to Nashville and see if I got what it takes or not. Yeah. And everything's just kind of, grown from there. And so I get to do
So the singing and songwriting is what brought you to Nashville.
Is what originally brought me to Nashville, but it only took about 3 months. I was in radio in northern Iowa, and I was a farm broadcaster. I've been a farm broadcaster since 2013, and I was also a country morning DJ and doing a lot of different things in local radio, sports, and you name it. Just every hat I could wear possible, I was wearing it, and was also doing, performing, singing, songwriting, travel in the Midwest, playing county fairs and festivals, and doing all this together, and was making periodic trips back and forth to Nashville to write, to record, all sorts of different things. And finally, it just kind of hit a point where I was a bit burned out on the local radio thing, and said, well, I want to go to Nashville and see if I got what it takes. And it like I said, it only took about 3 months. I call it a vacation from farm broadcasting and radio, because I got hired by Farm and Ranch Media soon after I moved. And I always remember the first conversation I had with my boss. I said, he called and we were talking. He said, well, our company's in Fargo, North Dakota. And I laughed and I said, well, I'm not moving. I could do this job remotely. I'm not moving to North Dakota. Nothing against North Dakota, but I'm like, I just traded in snow and ice and cold for a little bit of a warmer climate. I'm not trading that away immediately again.
Now, did you lose your power 2 weeks ago?
I did.
3
I
weeks.
did.
So
yeah.
it visited you. again.
It did. I had hoped that I had gotten rid of that, but hey, every now and then.
It's more manageable. In northern Iowa, you can get snow. It stays for months. So we normally don't. This one stuck around long is one I've seen. So it's been a tough weather pattern, but decent days out here today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. So
Yep. So am I wrong? But is Nashville also kind of becoming a center point for ag media?
a little bit. I mean, you've always had RFD TV there for quite some time, and so that's been they're kind of a staple on Music Row with their studios and their product, and Joe Vaklovic's over there with his Standard Grain podcast, and he's been there a few years.
Joe, and then Tommy
Grisafi with Ag Bowl Media. Tommy's a good friend of mine, and he recently relocated to Nashville and has his studios there as well.
So I just noticed these guys are popping up in Nashville. So I just wonder if that was coincidence.
I think it's coincidence. I haven't heard of many more people making that move. And like I said, with mine, it was more singer-songwriter driven versus the ag media thing. The ag media thing just kind of, picked itself back up and has grown from, I was essentially just doing market reports and that kind of thing to now hosting a nationally syndicated talk show, all in the span of the last 5 years. And so it's kind of the way media has changed is that I don't have to be tied to a radio studio anymore. I don't have to be sitting next to a transmitter site. I can be in my home studio, 1,200 miles away from our main studio, but because of technology,
you're there.
I'm there. I could sit in the cab of my pickup truck out in the parking lot here if I needed to and do a show right now. As long as I have a laptop, a microphone, and an internet connection, that's all I need. Some folks, they still prefer to have they want the radio, sitting in front of a board, and that's awesome and that's great. And I just have embraced technology, and that's allowed me to be a lot more flexible, I guess, with my reporting. Efficient too. Yeah, absolutely.
You can reach a lot more people. But it is, the in-person is, it's really nice to have you here today. And
absolutely.
It is something I do think we need more of, but it is tough in this environment. And, So you told me you had 2 dogs and a son and a wife. And
So met my wife not long after I moved to Nashville. She's from Nashville, Franklin area. So I would say it's safe to say I'm putting my roots down there. No pun intended. For the rest of my life, knock on wood, unless she gets rid of me anytime soon. I hope she doesn't. But,
well, just come off Valentine's, so if you're in bad shape today, you're in bad shape. So
I'm not in the doghouse as far as I'm aware, so that's good. But
that's good.
Nope, met her soon after I moved to Nashville. We got married in 2023 and gave birth to our son Liam about a year later, and so he'll be 2 this May, and keeps us busy between him and a couple dogs, and both of us have full-time careers, so it keeps us on the move, no doubt.
Winding up the biography, kind of, but tell us about your songwriting. I mean, everybody says it's hard. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how hard is it? 10.
The writing aspect of like actually crafting a song for me personally is probably like a 2 or a 3.
Okay.
But the aspect of like trying to get your songs cut by major artists, or the business side of it, like me trying to push my own music, getting things recorded, dealing with social media, it's probably like a 12 nowadays.
Yeah,
I mean, it's the business side of it is the tough part.
It takes the life out of you.
Yeah. For me, being able to craft a song, I mean, is...
Like Chris Stapleton, I heard him interviewed. He writes a song a day.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not hard.
I've written hundreds of songs, and it's just a matter of the business side of it. And that's part of I kind of stopped touring as my ag media career has gotten more and more involved, and got a family now, just because the business side of it just is tough since COVID.
Yeah.
It's just made it has taken a little bit of the life out of it, I would say.
Okay, that's fair. And so with that, let's transition into agriculture. So we've had some life sucked out of us over here on the ag side. Oof. So, but I want to start off on so you interviewed just a lot of ag tech, a lot of ag businesses, market people. What about farmers?
Quite amount of farmers. I talk to a lot of farmers. Maybe not necessarily interview them on the air all the time, but I talk to a lot of folks from across the country, and I hear the struggle and some of the issues that people are facing, and it's reality. It's a tough reality right now.
I'm really upset with us as farmers, and I'm a farmer because this isn't natural to me.
Yeah.
But we all have huge stories, and we're pretty terrible at telling them. But we need to be telling them. It's very important for our industry, isn't it?
It is, and that's kind of what I've tried to do with my role in taking over, especially AOA and Market Talk, is telling the story of agriculture and talking to folks and talking to commodity organizations and industries and interviewing senators and congressmen and women and getting their, asking them the tough questions of, why they're doing this and why they're not doing that, that kind of thing. And as agriculture, I just think it's important to have people out there, and there's more people than just me. I mean, farm broadcasters are all over this country telling the story of farmers and ranchers. And I think it's important, to your point, to have that story told so people know the hard work that people like yourself are putting out there every single day.
And we're so fortunate that our ag media doesn't have the same problems as media in general.
100%.
Yeah. So it's a good group of people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's really an upper hand. Because, just like today, we're just doing this blind. I printed this off 30 minutes before you got here. And
I had no idea what we were going to talk about today. Yeah, I'm just following along the conversation. So
it's post-harvest. What are 3 positive things that you've come across that since harvest, just three things that gives you, that's been the most positive interviews kind of?
I would say that there is, as much as the trade thing gets a bad rap, I think there's a lot of genuine positivity building there.
Right.
And some people might think that's a weird answer, but I think there's a clear understanding that we have an imbalance when it comes to our trade. And I guess from different folks I talk to, whether it be in DC or, on the farm, there is some optimism. Although I will say even in the last month that maybe some of that optimism started to wane because it's taking a long time. But I think folks really know that it's needed to get maybe the scales rebalanced a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'd say that's one positive. I think there is more momentum now than ever in terms of, I'll say, on the biofuel side. I know there's a lot of angst about why can't we get year-round E15 passed, for instance, which to me is silly. It's a no-brainer. I don't know what is taking them so long to just get this passed, because it's not going to cost anything. In fact, it would make it easier for oil refiners, blenders to actually meet their goals. But, I think there's more. I guess I'll say this, whether it's E15, 45Z, et cetera, I think there's more momentum now than there has been in the last several years to actually make some meaningful advancement there. So, and I think the third, I think there's just been a lot of positivity for ag with the dietary guidelines, with the changes there. meat specifically. My friend, I'll steal his line, Glenn Tonsor at Kansas State, meat's having a moment. And I think that's been a positive thing. A lot of the cattle producers, of course, have seen record high prices, but truthfully, just with the positioning in the dietary guidelines and more, I would agree that meat's having a moment, whether it's beef, pork, chicken, you name it. So those are three things I would say are positive, at least as I have conversations with folks. And yeah, I know there's some negatives with all of those, but I try to be an eternal optimist when I look at those things.
Yeah. One for me is the curiosity of the farmer. So, I think we're saying, okay, this isn't going just good. So maybe it's time to think about all aspects. And so that gives me some hope, because we're a strong group. We can do a lot of different things, and we just need to maybe forget the traditions. And so that one gives me some hope.
And I would say to that end, and you can correct me if you're wrong, but if I'm wrong, but I've heard this from a few folks. I think it's making folks look more at their operation with more of a business eye.
Right.
And I think that's important. Just the way things have shifted and things have gotten bigger and more. You have to be really sharp with your pencil, whether it's your marketing or your inputs or more. And I think that's helping folks look at new tools that are out there, new technologies that are out there, ways to make things easier, looking at different regenerative ag practices, soil health, all these different things. But at the end of the day, really, making sure that the farm business is up to speed, so to speak.
Right.
I think that's been a big thing that's happened as well.
Yeah, no doubt. So you can do things out of desire or necessity. You know, one just comes quicker.
Yeah.
So I think we're at the necessity level, but that's not all bad, because you got to assess, is this really helping soil health, which helps yield, which, it's on and on. Everything is like this. It's tied together, isn't it?
Yeah,
so,
it is.
The big thing is, we struggle to agree on a lot as farmers. We all have our opinions, but one thing I've been talking about a lot is we're only getting 13 cents of the food dollar. And without the meat moment, we really aren't getting that. I mean, the beef, that's really skewing that pretty good. And I'm not saying we deserve, whatever, but we do deserve more of that dollar. And I think we should all unite together, and because, even if you're just producing corn and beans, you're still producing meat. And, if in comparison to some fake chips, that they've just taken the dye out of and calling them blondies, if you eat a bag of blondies for $7 and you eat a portion of animal protein, one is healthy and one is not. So we deserve to get paid for ours, just like those food companies are getting paid for their blondies. So I think that's a real topic we have a chance to explode.
Yeah. And I would agree. I really believe that those are some of the conversations that are starting to happen more and more. And folks are really trying to get that perspective on whether or not, how should I say this? They're trying to get that perspective out there of, essentially, I think it comes back to the trade thing too and everything else, but just and the business side of ag, but rebalancing things and making sure that conversation, making sure the consumer understands, where their food comes from. I think that's part of it as well. It comes back to that, but also I think it's just more or less awareness for producers saying, now, hold on a second, we're putting in this sweat equity. It'd be nice if we got a little more return. And I where that conversation goes over the next decade, I'm not sure, but I think that's, to your point, another area where some noise is finally being made there in terms of, okay, we're putting in all this work. but we're not seeing the returns. We're not seeing the profit. We're struggling. Something needs to change here. And I think that's starting to happen.
Yeah, that's kind of where we're at. So
Yeah.
it's something that will fix itself,
Yep.
you know. So no
Always
doubt.
does.
Always does, yeah. So are you seeing a lot more ag startup companies now, or is it about the same since COVID?
I'd say it's about the same because I think COVID caused some companies to go away. But to that end, they've been replaced. And I think more of the emphasis is on companies that are looking at, say, AI use in agriculture or just more technology focused or financial management, things like that.
Yeah.
I'm seeing more of those companies come into the space, or I'm seeing more maybe, company A and company B were kind of doing similar things. Well, now they've merged into company C and they're trying to, attack things collaboratively and together. I'm seeing some of that happen as well.
Yeah, because people are soliciting you to put them out. And
Yeah.
So something that's on your weekly schedule, I guess.
I'd say I at least hear of a new company every week. Somebody that reaches out to me, and they may not necessarily be a new company, but it's a company that I've never necessarily heard of.
Right.
So it's one of those things. And then, I kind of do my job as a farm broadcaster journalist of, okay, is this company legit? Like, what's the story here? Do they have a good story? That kind of thing. Is this something that other farmers and ranchers need to hear about? That's kind of the thing that I have to kind of go through. When I get a new company that comes across my desk, I say my desk, basically my email. I mean, that's how everything is these days.
Right.
So,
yeah. I tried to offer you a pen and paper and you're like, I'm good. So, So
I just sit here and doodle away probably while I'm talking. That'd be my multitasking for the day.
Day.
Yeah.
So I guess it leads me to, what about areas of concern? I mean, not negativity, just concern. Just we're filming this on President's Day, so there's been a lot of concern over the years. This country's built on failure and succeed. So
markets. I mean, right off the top, and this ties in kind of with what we were talking about with the the trade, the tariffs conversation, et cetera, et cetera. I know right now that things don't pencil out for most everybody when it comes to, okay, you got corn, the board price, D's corn, I think at Friday's close was like $4.60 something. So you get cash basis factored in there. You're probably in the low fours. I mean, soybeans have had an okay rally here lately, but you look at the cost of inputs, fertilizer, seed, chemical, et cetera. Things don't pencil out on the row crop side very well. And I know it's an even tougher conversation for folks in the Delta and cotton country, rice, et cetera. Wheat really hasn't had a whole lot of profit here over the last several years. So but we've seen this, time and time again, where we go through these cycles in agriculture, these 4, 5, 6 year cycles, and then things come back and the markets improve. I think the difference this time that has me more concerned is the cost of inputs has not adjusted yet to where the cost of the commodity is.
Right. So when you came into, you said 2013, you were on the top of the wave there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so I've been at this since 1998. And, I'll say this, I think we've been under the cost of production about 50% of the time. So that's telling us something. That's a unwritten letter, So I totally get you on that.
Well, and I think about this too, and I don't know if there's any perfect answer, but you have these new pieces of equipment that you got $2-3 million combines and $1 million tractors out there that are brand new rolling off the production line, or you have fertilizer that's $700-800 for urea or whatever, potash, all these different, and seed prices aren't coming down, and you got all these new chemicals and more. And I know that's a sticking point for a lot of folks, and especially this year, a lot of people are talking about, cutting this corner, cutting that corner, really looking at their return on investment. And I don't know if there's a perfect answer to this. I think we've seen in the past that some of these prices eventually correct to meet where the market's at. But then again, this time around feels a little different. Like I don't see the price of a new combine coming down anytime soon. So I don't know how that shakes out for modern U.S. agriculture. And right. As we're taping this right now, I could be dead wrong, and we could see, price adjustments going into 27. I hope so, but that's a big concern, because at the end of the day, like the grain you have sitting in grain bins out back here, that's your cash. Right. And when that doesn't pencil out to what the elevators, wanting to offer you right now, you can't continue to take a loss, year after year. A lot of producers are in that boat, and I feel for folks.
Yeah, we do it wrong. We should present an invoice for our load of grain at the elevator instead of unloading it and receive their invoice, exactly what they think it's worth. So kind of a backwards trade, but it's always been that way.
It's always been that way.
Yeah. Yep. So were you in Louisville last week?
I was.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I guess it was action packed, big crowds.
Good crowds. I was up just for the first day. But very good crowds, plenty of new equipment that I did see on the floor. A lot of compact tractors. That still seems to be
smaller.
Yeah, small compact tractors, kind of like doing the yard work, or maybe on the cattle operation, you got a front loader on it, moving stuff around, whatever the case is. A lot of new, I guess, advancements there. A lot of skid steers, that kind of thing that were new. Didn't see much in the way of brand new tractors on the show floor at Louisville, but good show. And I think it's a word that I've heard a lot over the last couple of years. A lot of producers that maybe they're not buying that new equipment because it's so expensive, but they want to put new attachments on, retrofit.
Okay.
A lot of like, hey, you can attach this to your 6-7-year-old combine to make it run more efficient, or your tractor, or whatever the case is. Still a lot of talk about retrofit at the Farm Machinery Show, and very well maybe at Commodity Classic coming up as well. A lot of folks with pieces of some new invention or some remake of something that can attach to what you currently have to give it another couple of years of life.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Yeah. And in agriculture, I mean, we've gotten used to disregarding equipment,
Yep.
I was thinking about yesterday, I drove down the road. There was a guy who I know farmed 40 years with 2 tractors. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I think those days are beyond us, but it has been done. And
the owner of Farm and Ranch Media, he farms in the Red River Valley up in North Dakota, and he said that to me time and time again. He said, yeah, I could get a new tractor, but I've had this one for 10 years. I know how to fix it. I know how it runs. I've kept it in good condition. Why would I go get a new one when this one works just fine? Yeah. And I think there's a lot of folks out there who have that mentality still. There's some who don't. There's some that want the latest and greatest and shiny thing, but there's a lot of folks out there who are saying, hey, this works just fine. This is good enough. Maybe I can get something to make it a little bit better.
Yeah.
But hey, this gets the job done.
Yeah. So right now in agriculture, I've got this because of President's Day and Abe Lincoln, if you're easily discouraged, just think about what he went through. Failed in business in 1831, lost a legislature election in 32, failed again in business in 34. His sweetheart died in 35, had a nervous breakdown in 36, lost more elections in 38, 43, 46, 48, and 55, defeated for vice president in 56, defeated for Senate in 58, and was elected president in 1860. So, I mean, so if you're feeling discouraged,
if you fail once, try again. Is what that tells me right there.
and if you're not failing, you're not trying hard enough. So it is something. But yes, I keep this above my desk because it is really something to think about, and especially here today. So any more concerns in agriculture you think we bring up, or? I feel bad for the farmers who are struggling mental health wise. I mean, it's a big issue, and
that ties in just with everything with the economy, I think, right now, and the markets and more. And I've heard a lot of those stories, and it's sad. And I always remember to tell folks, if you need to talk to someone, there's someone out there, whether it's 988, whatever the case is. I mean, call your neighbor. Whatever you need to do, but talk to someone. Don't be afraid to talk to someone, because your life matters. You are appreciated. I had somebody tell me that last week at the farm machinery show, that that line, you are appreciated. And I think even as neighbors too, in farm country, check on one another. If you haven't seen somebody in a couple of days, swing on down the road and pop in and just say, hey, how you doing? Bring them a coffee, or bring them a case of beer, or whatever the case is, and just talk, and I think rising tide lifts all boats. And I think we can get through this down cycle in agriculture if we all just stick together. So
one area of concern I always hear talk about, and I just wonder if you think it is something to it or not, but the age of the farmer. Do you really, I mean, it seems to me like there's enough young people around to keep it going, but are we really looking at a cliff there or not?
I think we are. If I remember right, I saw the stat from Iowa that it's like 70% of farms in Iowa, the owner operator is 65 or older. Yeah. And I believe that was in the Des Moines Register a couple months back. I think it's not an issue of if young people want to take over the farm. I think it's the issue of farm transition plans are not in place. Or, folks maybe don't want to let go necessarily. And it's in your blood. You want to keep doing it. But you might have a son or a daughter who wants to take over, and you're not quite, giving them control, or you don't want to hand it over. You don't want to start that plan. And I think that's part of where the problem is. I think that's where the concern is that not enough folks want to have that tough conversation to get started on a farm transition plan. And there's a lot of cases where it's ended up being too late, and then folks are having to kind of sort through the mess, or they can't pay, any sort of taxes that may incur with it, and I know there's been changes with the death tax and all those different things. But I think it's more of a farm transition plan issue than it is having people ready to take over the farm.
Okay. So, well, that makes sense. That kind of got me to the bottom of my stuff. You have any questions for me, or?
Well, I'll flip it back to you. I am a radio host after all,
and a songwriter.
I
can't write songs.
What do you you had a lot of growth with your company and your farm and more, and you talk to a lot of folks. What do you see as the outlook for agriculture by 2030, I guess, here in the U.S.? What's the biggest excitement for you, or the biggest concern for you, Kaleb?
Yeah, so biggest excitement for me is I think that with this curiosity, we're going to uncover a lot of things that nobody's at fault for believing, would fight you to the nth degree, but possibly just get you thinking, is that really an ROI on my farm? Do I really need it? The whole regenerative, which, that's a hard space. People talk about it all the time, and he has a wrap around it. And I'm not saying good or bad, but there's some people doing some remarkable things, and they deserve some thought process, so I think we'll just keep digging in on that. And, you know, I mean, I think some of our old data sets are going to possibly lose some credibility. You know, and I think that's hard to swallow. And, but I think we've got to do it. So it's, so that's one of mine. Yep.
I think you're spot on with that. And, you know, I hear a lot of talk about, you know, you think about old data sets. We got a farm bill that we haven't updated in almost a decade, you know, and they changed some things with the legislation last summer, the One Big Beautiful Bill, and there's updates to crop insurance and all these things that I'm no expert on. But you look at where agriculture is now post-COVID and in 2026, and I think you're spot on that there's folks out there, there's companies, there's farmers that are challenging the way of thinking in American agriculture. And I'm excited to see where that goes, because to your point, folks are really looking at the ROI of what they're using on their operation. It's not just a matter of driving to the local co-op and talking to your guy that you've had there or gal that you've had there for the last 25 years and say, oh yeah, just hook me up with whatever, you know, XYZ products that I've had every year. No, folks are really looking closer at what they're using and what they're spending money on, because at the end of the day, they want to grow the best crops possible, but they also want to minimize the spend waste, I guess is what I would say. In some areas.
In the environmental aspect.
That too. Yeah. That too. So. There's so many things out there. I guess I'm just excited to see where the next 5 to 10 years goes in American ag.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, you know, and maybe we do have people invade the space and lower the price of combines.
That's very true.
It could happen. And so I'm, you know, there's plenty of bleak, but there's always a lot of sunshine. So
I think folks just eternal optimism, you know. I try to be that as much as I can every day if times are tough. And I think a lot of farmers and ranchers that I talk to daily, weekly, try to be eternal optimists as well. They'll always ask me if the top's in on the market, and I'll say, I have no idea. If I knew, I'd be on a beach in Jamaica or something like that.
Do you have your Series 3, or can you trade commodities?
I don't.
You just report.
I just report. And even if I have my Series 3, I'm not. If I knew when the top was going to be in a market, like I said, I'd be on a beach somewhere.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
I mean, it's like, I just watch it every day. And it's always, I'd say that's always been my favorite aspect of being a farm broadcaster is I geek out on watching the markets and look at charts and things like that. And I understand enough to be dangerous. So that's always been the fun aspect for me is talking markets, you know.
Get you a few contracts, you'll become an expert.
maybe when things settle down with the speaking and the talk shows and more than that, maybe if things settle down there and I get into a groove, then maybe I'll look at doing that.
I got invited to a poker tournament one time, and I said, I don't know how to play poker. They said, we're going to teach you. So it's, you know, I mean, it's kind of that way, but well, man, I appreciate you coming down, and
Absolutely.
here we're always looking for more subscribers to the podcast, and reach out to us at Root Cause Ag on YouTube or our other socials. And how do we get a hold of Jess Allen?
Yeah, just you could find Agriculture of America or Market Talk on all your favorite spots where you listen to podcasts as well, like Caleb's Root Cause podcast. You can go to farmranchmedia.com. That's another way to find all of our brands and networks. Find us on social media. Find me on socials, LinkedIn, etc.
And you're going to Commodity Classic.
And I'll be at Commodity Classic. We'll be on the trade show floor pretty much every day with live broadcasts of both AOA and Market Talk. And I'm looking forward to it. You can also find YouTube. I forgot that as well. If you go to youtube.com/@MarketTalkAg, you'll be able to find a lot of stuff there as well.
Okay, well, thanks for the trip. I really enjoyed it, and we should do it again.
Absolutely.
Maybe I can come to Nashville and hang out in your...
I haven't built a studio as nice as this one yet, but when I get that done, we'll make it happen. So.
Okay, well, I don't have... This is just a farm office.
Well, hey, it's better than mine. Mine's just in my spare room above my garage.
All right.
So.
Thank you.
Thanks, Caleb.